Welcome to ExceedTV. My name is Jason Greenwood and I'm here with Lance O'Grady. And this is our episode for 9th of January 2013. We've been on a little bit of a break. In fact, it was back, I think, in July of about 2012.
It's been a big break.
Yeah, okay, a big break. I think we call that a hiatus. It qualifies as a hiatus. So first of all, an explanation. The reason why we've had such a large break is primarily because Mr. Lance here has been based out of Australia for several months, working with clients in Australia on some large projects happening in Australia. So I've been without my cohort, and I figured you didn't want to see my ugly mug on its own. So I did wait for Lance to come back for us to hit the next episode. So thank you, Lance, for coming back, and it's great to have you back aboard with ExceedTV.
I'm glad to be back. It's been a long time since I've been on the camera, but I think we'll be able to get through.
You look older.
I don't know if I like to hear that.
Anyways, I did want to just point people to, I guess, the description or the explanation underneath the video. We've got some links in there, both to our Facebook page and website and some other things. So if you need any contact information for us, it's all right there underneath the video, and feel free to comment away and ask any questions that you like, because we do look back at our videos and we try to incorporate any questions that we see, particularly across our social channels, back into future videos. I want to just briefly topically cover off what we're going to cover today. We're going to discuss Google Analytics primarily, a few other things that we're going to talk about as well, but it's really a focus on Google Analytics. As you can tell, we love Google Analytics.
We do. We love to bring it up.
So we're going to talk about remarketing today in Google Analytics. We're going to talk about social analytics, which is a big deal nowadays as social becomes bigger and better than ever before in terms of platform proliferation and companies that are using them and why and how. The other thing we're going to talk about is attribution modeling, and then we'll talk about a summary at the end and talk about some of our future episodes and what our guests are likely, not our guests, but our loyal audience is likely to see in coming weeks.
Absolutely. I think basically, we want to cover off what's new in analytics.
Yep.
Absolutely. A lot of changes, consistently changing. So we really want to talk about what's new in the last 6 months, and they're continually evolving. So we're going to see a lot of great new features this year as well, and some of the new features are still in beta, so they're going to continue to evolve. But we're really excited, which basically leaves us into our first topic, which is remarketing. So for people who use analytics, you may have noticed there's remarketing tabs appearing in different parts of the analytics screen when you log in under admin and a few other places. So basically they're bringing in the remarketing section from which has previously been housed in AdWords and kept very separate from analytics.
And let's be honest, it was pretty crap.
It was pretty terrible. You had to tag different pages with different code, and it really didn't work. It was kind of hidden away too. It was like the ugly stepdaughter kind of just tucked away. So it's really good to see that they're bringing it into to analytics now, and it gives you huge scope for what you can do with a lot more ease. You just have to change kind of one piece of line in your tracking code, and it opens up.
This is your analytics tracking code, not your AdWords tracking code.
Just analytics tracking code, just one line, and that opens you up to using analytics to basically form your remarketing list, which you then can still use in AdWords to obviously do your remarketing campaigns. So you can choose pages or sections of the site, so subdirectories. If you want to choose an entire category, for example, you could choose advanced segments. That's another great one. You can you could choose a specific segment, either ones that analytics have got by default or one that you've created, and put people from that into a list that you can then remarket to. So it's
just in brief, just for those in our audience that they most likely know what remarketing is, but just in one sentence or two sentences, why don't we give our audience a bit of insight into what remarketing actually is?
That's probably a good idea. So basically, remarketing, if I was to visit a website and not convert, but be placed on a remarketing list, I would then be browsing around other sites. I might be checking emails, checking out the news, and because I was tagged and I've been put on that list, I would see ads from the site that I didn't convert from, and they may just be subtle references to why I should buy for them, or they could be blatantly, you should come back and buy from us. They can be, depending who's done it, they can be all sorts of things, but basically it allows advertisers to remarket.
Market again. Get a second chance at converting them into customers.
Absolutely, and it goes on. You can set how often you want it to show to them, and the impression limit per day, etc. But it's a really good way
to stalk your clients.
To stalk your clients effectively. So we're happy that you can do that, obviously, and if you're a business owner and an online retailer, you should definitely be happy.
Yeah.
And it's getting better. It's still in beta stage. But from what we've seen, it's working quite well. There's still a few improvements, but it's definitely a big step up from what we've seen in the past.
Well, I think we've encountered enough problems with the old, AdWords-based remarketing to know that it certainly was not a painless platform. So anything we can do to draw more of that back into analytics, which is admittedly, it's a much more polished, it's a much more, I guess, in some respects, user-friendly platform. It's got more power than AdWords, but certainly it's a user-friendly. The interface has been improved greatly. Navigating around analytics is easier now, so very good. So I guess that leads us pretty much, unless you have anything else to say about remarketing, I think we're ready to move on.
Covers it off.
Fantastic. Thank you, Lance. The next feature, the new feature, it's not really a new feature, but it's definitely a greatly improved feature, much like remarketing, is social analytics. Mm-hmm. So Google Analytics has always had the ability, well, not always, but for some time now, about 6 or 8 months now, it's had the ability to perform social tracking. It originally required quite a few custom reports and advanced segments to draw out and sort of tease out the data that you're really looking for. So it was limited in some of its default reports, and so you had to get a little bit creative with how you drew information and therefore actionable data out of its standard reports. They've given the social section of analytics a pretty major revamp and overhaul, which is always good to see. Google are a moving target, which is good in some respects, bad in others, but in this case it's good. You can now see a range of reports regarding social, including network referrals, top social landing pages, conversions through social, and some of the other more fine-grained reports that really we had to set up manually in the past. So
absolutely.
I guess more than anything else, it saves extra work and saves copying custom reports from one analytics profile to another and copying your segments across. So in that regard, it's just a faster, prettier way to access some of that social data from the social tab.
And I just reminded me of something. When I remember when they were slowly making their changes to the social section of analytics, they originally made it a lot more specific to Google Plus, and it would only bring in data from Google Plus. The trouble was nobody was coming from Google Plus, so
nobody used it. So
it was quite interesting. But now they've said, all right, now we do realize that people may actually use a platform called Facebook.
Yeah, funny that, or even Pinterest
or Twitter, and so let's maybe cater for those. So they're finally catching up and bringing that in, which is great to see.
I guess one of the things that because Google obviously has got that marriage with YouTube. I guess they've always tracked YouTube pretty well.
Yes, they've always.
But certainly, I think with event tracking, even within social, I think event tracking still has its place because you still don't have the ability within, say, for example, your standard social analytics to see what percentage of a video has been played. There's certainly a place for custom tagging and certainly custom reports, I think, even with these new additions.
Absolutely. And that'll just continue over time, just like anything else with analytics. It just keeps on evolving and getting better with time. It's like a fine wine.
Yes.
Moving into I guess our next new feature, or again evolving feature, is attribution modeling and I guess multi-channel funnels that you can find in analytics. So basically, the idea behind that is people may visit your site, they may not check out, they may come back. They may not check out, they may come back. It can take them several times of coming back to the site via different sources to actually make the purchase and give you some money. So,
or a conversion that you may have defined that isn't actually a purchase. So that's true. That's something that I think with attribution modeling, that is the beauty. And I guess to put it in a nutshell, attribution modeling is where do we attribute the sale to or the conversion.
The value.
What generated it? And how much did it cost us to achieve that particular conversion? So what was our cost of acquiring that conversion? So I think that attribution modeling is really important, and I think every business really needs to take into account how they're securing not only their traffic, but how are they securing their conversions, because that is the only way that you can justify additional spend in a given, I guess, method of securing traffic and method of securing a conversion.
Absolutely. And, I guess on what you've said, they're really trying to develop it and step it up and make it so that you as a user, whether you're still learning, you probably wouldn't go into this type of report, but if you're an advanced analytics user, you can really dig down deep, and they're giving you options to use different attribution modeling types, I guess. So you can have first interaction, last interaction. You might want to go on a linear approach, a time decay approach. There's all sorts of different modeling approaches that you can use to analyze the data and see, I guess, at different looks at how people might be using your site, and you can work out what's right for you and what's working and what's not working, and it just gives you a different, I guess, idea about it all. So
well, I remember the brouhaha, and this is going back last year. In fact, it was late 2011 when they made the change of their standard attribution modeling, when they made that they went from last click to first click.
Yes.
And that really upset conversion rate for a lot of companies because of the way that they measured the conversion. So I think that by being able to modify on the fly what conversion model you're using, how you attribute that conversion, whether you want to attribute it to the first click, the last click, what happens over a period of time. I think there's a small gap in attribution modeling. Well, it's actually a pretty big gap that I think everyone needs to be aware of, and that is we still, as much as Google is an all-seeing eye, they're not God yet. They're trying to be, I think, but they're working on it. If you, Lance, visit a site on your fancy laptop there, your fancy Apple laptop, and then you do it from your iPhone, and then you do it from your friend's tablet, and then you do it from your mate's iPhone. All those clicks, particularly if they were pay-per-click clicks, they are going to be seen as an individual visit to the site. They're going to be seen as an individual session, and they're not going to be tracked as part of this attribution modeling timeline, as it were. That gets broken by various different browsers being used. Even on the same device, if you've got two different browsers, it's going to set the cookie in each one. So I think there are some gaps in there just yet, unless you happen to be logged into your Google account every time you make these visits, in which case Google is going to smartly track that. But as attribution modeling gets better, I think Google will be able to tell pretty much all the time where you've come from and who you are, which is a little bit terrifying.
It's terrifying, but I guess from a marketing point of view, it's great.
Talk about remarketing. We'll be able to follow you around everywhere.
So that's, I guess, our top 3 new features that we see. There's lots of other things in terms of, you can load cost sources now and all sorts of other great features that are still evolving, but we'll keep you posted, of course.
So come back and visit us. In fact, subscribe to us, and that way when we upload a new video, you'll know straight away. You won't need to visit us. It'll tell you right when you'll get a notification when we upload a new video. So go ahead and subscribe. But Lance, I think it's a pretty good lead into next week's topic for our next. That's another change, I guess. We're going to go to a more frequent and hopefully shorter episode model for ExceedTV to try to keep you from, we don't want to overwhelm you with too much in each episode. We're going to talk about Google Tag Manager next week. And Google Tag Manager is a phenomenal new piece of kit being brought out by Google. I can't believe somebody didn't do it before. There have been other tools that have tried to do similar things, but certainly Google seems to always do it right, almost all the time. And Tag Manager allows you to put a single piece of JavaScript code on your website, on every page of your website, and then if you want to add additional JavaScript tags for remarketing services, for the various different online services that seem to always require a bit of JavaScript tagging, you would go through the Google web interface, put in the new tag, and then automatically Google's going to shunt that in following their bracketed tags. So it's a very elegant solution to the issue of having to have your webmaster or your developer or somebody like that go into your website every single time you need a new JavaScript tag added. Well, now us mere plebs who are not programmers can go in through a web interface with Google and add those new tags ourselves, and as long as that GTM code is in there, boom, Google's going to manage it all for you. And I think ultimately, where this will probably end up is actually in the analytics interface. But for the time being, it's still a standalone tool, and we're going to talk a lot more about that. But in a nutshell, it's going to be pretty cool.
Sounds good. I mean, it's always going to keep the marketing people happy. It's going to keep the development people happy because they don't have to talk and make sure that things are happening and follow up. Why isn't my tags been installed? So it's definitely going to make people happy. It's going to be good to use. Absolutely, totally agree. Thanks once again, Lance, for joining me and coming back from Australia. I don't know, the weather's probably a little bit better over there, but thank you very much for joining us, everyone at home or in the office, and we look forward to seeing you next week with our new episode. Thanks very much. Thanks a lot.